In this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter, the Chimera Ant arc finally comes to a close, and it's the beginning of a brand new exciting arc for the anime series. At least I hope it is, because we are getting dangerously close to the manga version of Hunter x Hunter, which I have not read yet, and I want to continue watching the anime version only, so let's just enjoy the ride while we can. At least this week's episode was really good. It might be a little slow for some people, especially in the first half of the episode, but I liked it. It actually wrapped up a whole different story arc of some minor Chimera Ants, which I really didn't care about too much, but I'm really glad that I got to see where their stories are headed, because they might actually evolve into something in the future. More so, Welf and Hina and Bezef's group. And speaking of Bezef, I cannot believe that character is still alive. The minute he was introduced, I was almost certain that the Chimera Ant King was going to lop his head off, or he was just going to be killed by a random Chimera Ant. But no, he somehow got wrangled into this big road trip to Meteor City, which, that's really the main story with these guys. Welfin and his group are trying to find Gyro. He's the character who's been brought up multiple times in the Chimera Ant arc, and I'm not really sure how important this guy is going to be. Hopefully it'll evolve into a bigger story arc later on in the series. The fact that they're heading to Meteor City, which is the hometown of Phantom Troop, just makes a lot of sense here. It just seems like it's going to bloom into something really awesome later, and I'd like to see Welfin return with his weird missile abilities. Maybe even Hina could do something, and who knows, maybe Bezef is actually going to be a standby for the series. Only time will tell. What I will say is I also liked the other half of the Chimera Ant story. There was Bravada the Lobster Man, and he is joined by this little Chimera Ant girl who's known as Reina. This is actually the sister of Colt. And Reina actually retained all of her memories, and Bravada actually brings her back to her village. Everybody is naturally freaked out at first when they see them because, I mean, just look at them. They look freaking horrifying. Bravada thinks he should leave, and he thinks he's just sort of been wrangled into this situation because Ikago had him at gunpoint. But he starts to get the feels when Reina arrives and brings him back to the village, where they can now live as a weird, freaky-ass, happy Chimera Ant family. Speaking of freaky Chimera Ant families, they actually go back to Colt immediately after this, and this is really fitting, because we actually get to see what happened to that weird, freaky little fetus baby that came out of the queen's body, and it's already growing into like a weird little human girl, and this girl's name is Kite. She actually thinks she might actually be Kite, and she kind of resembles a weird little female chibi version of him in some senses, except that she has red hair, but she's swinging a sword around, she's super hyperactive, and this definitely gets the attention of Morel, and he tries to get in contact with Killua and Gon, and this brings us to them. So Gon is so foobar that they will not even show us what happened to him. He's like completely behind a glass wall, it's all dark, and Killua is there, and he's basically sort of beating himself up a little bit, but then he sort of tells himself, this is the way it's always been. He makes a lot of big-ass messes, I have to come in and sweep that shit up. And that's when he decides he has to do something to save Gon, so it looks like he's getting ready to go off on his own little secret mission. And then you have Nove, who's getting these doctors to come in and help him as well. So obviously Gon is going to be healed, and he's probably going to get a little help from his father, who returns at the end of this week's episode, and it is awesome. He doesn't even say anything, he doesn't even have to do anything. Dude just walks up, looks up into the sky, and smiles, and I went into total fanboy mode. That was one of the few moments when I'm watching a series and I like jump up with joy and I'm like, oh yeah, shit's about to really get real here. And then you have these Zodiac characters who come in who all look completely ridiculous. You can get a better look at them in the preview for next week's episode, as well as the return of freaking Hisoka, and it is about time. He was incredibly absent from this entire arc. I would have loved to see him interact with some of the royal guards or even the Chimera Ant King. I thought that would have just been a really nice hypothetical thing, but the fact that they're actually bringing him back is great, because he is just a fantastic anti-hero villain freaky pedo guy. All I know is he's awesome, and my favorite fight scene of the entire series is still between him and Gon in the tournament arc in the beginning of the series. But otherwise, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter? It was really good. I liked this one. Like I said, some people might have some issues with the pacing at the beginning. The first 10 minutes of the episode is all dominated by wrapping up some minor characters from the Chimera Ant arc. But I liked it. It was handled well, the animation was good, and it also sort of let us know what's going on with the NGL and how it's being controlled by all of the different people in the world and how the Hunters Association is dealing with that. and how there were just a ton of refugees, and it looks like people are just sort of getting back to the, you know, normal life in NGL. Pretty simple. The other thing that's really cool about this week's episode is the return of Ging. Obviously, that's the thing that sticks with me the most. He's a character, you know, they've been building up for a long time, and it's not too crazy a lot of the times in these anime series. It always seems like it's the father character who's always off on a weird, mysterious journey, who just randomly just sort of pops up out of nowhere, and they always happen to be a badass. And that's sort of what I expect out of Ging. What I still think is really interesting about the character is how plain and simple he looks. He sort of reminds me of Shanks from One Piece in that sense, where, you know, everybody around them tends to have these really flashy and crazy designs, but these characters who are just so simple, they're so incredibly powerful and amazing in their own special way. And I can't wait to see how he's involved with the Zodiac group. And the Zodiac guys, they look like they're going to be a lot of fun, if only for the fact that they have some incredibly crazy and drastic designs. I also like the fact that there's a video with Netero actually explaining how they want to do this whole election thing. He says that all of the hunters have to vote, and that at least 95% of them have to in order for this to actually work. Otherwise, they're just going to have to redo the whole thing. It really shows he wants everybody to get involved in this process, and it's going to be really interesting. I can only imagine who they're going to choose at this point. It might actually be one of the Zodiac guys. It could be Ging for all we know. But the fact that Ging is actually back, the one thing obviously I want to see the most is I want to see him interact with Gon. I want him to see his son. They need to see each other. Like, this is a moment where he needs to be there with his son, because he just went through like an incredibly ridiculous ordeal. His body is completely destroyed. He's on the brink of death. You know, he's missing limbs, for Christ's sake, but I want to see these guys talk to each other, because there's just been such a build-up, and it'd be really nice after all of this crazy shit just happened. Otherwise, this episode was fantastic. We had a lot of really good animation and artwork. Everything looked really beautiful at the beginning of the episode. All the characters at the end, the designs are really awesome. All the voice acting this week was really incredible. The scene where Killua was breaking down was really good. This was just a really awesome episode. My only complaint, which is a very minor one, is a little slow in the beginning. Could have been a little quicker, but otherwise I think this was a really well done episode that wrapped up all the other stuff with the Chimera Ant arc. Gave us a few more questions, like what's up with the weird kite girl, Ging returning, the Zodiacs, Killua going on a crazy journey. There's a lot of crazy things going on right now. Even though this arc just, you know, had this massive momentum, we're keeping it going with the beginning of this brand new arc. So let's just enjoy it, guys. This is it. 9 out of 10 from me. Check it out. So if you guys checked out this week's episode, please tell me what you thought about it. What do you think about the return of Gon's father, Ging? And who is actually going to be elected to be the brand new chairman? And what do you guys want to see from the future of the Hunter x Hunter anime series? Remember, guys, before you leave, like button, hit it! Helps out the videos tremendously. You can also check out our channel. Make sure and subscribe to it so you can see all of our videos, our anime and manga reviews. You can also check us out on social media like Facebook and Twitter. I'll put links to those in the description box below. Make it real easy for you guys. So, that concludes my review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.